I recently finished watching Death Note, but then I realized something. Death Note is hilarious, but only if you look at it through L's perspective. Now, let me set the scene. Imagine you are L, and you are one of, if not the best detective in the world. Now, but one day, a bunch of criminals start dying, and with every criminal, it always says that they died by heart attack. And everybody online is saying that this is due to something, and they call it Kira. Now, you're super confused about this because obviously nobody's somehow making a bunch of criminals have heart attacks. But, just in case, if it's, supernatural or, a vengeful god or something, you end up putting up a broadcast. Now, in this broadcast, you get a stunt double, and the stunt double practically just says, Kira, I'm gonna come find you and kill you. Now, this is when your stunt double ends up having a heart attack. Now, this ends up confirming that Kira is a person on Earth. This also tells you that they are in the Kanto region of Japan. And this also tells you that they don't have to be in person to actually murder the person, which you didn't really think that they had to be there, seeing how a lot of the criminals were actively doing their crimes, so it wouldn't have really made sense if he was also there for every single one. But now this confirms it. So now you have narrowed it down pretty well, but still, it's only inside the Kanto region. Now, yes, there isn't a ton of people in the Kanto region, like 1 billion, but there's still a lot of people in that region, and you don't know exactly where they are. So you end up looking at the times of all the deaths to see kind of a pattern, if you would find any patterns, and you actually do find one pattern, that this is all happening after school hours, so most likely the person is a student. Now, this does narrow it down a little, but it doesn't narrow it down a ton. There's still a lot of students. But right after you figure out this information, the next day, criminals start dying once every hour. So that tells you that either they're writing during class, which would be pretty easy because then you can just put cameras in every single classroom and probably find them, or they can schedule deaths. Now, this also makes you believe that they're either a police officer, which is the least likely of these two options, or they're related to a police officer, which is the reason why they could get police information, because they could have just hacked into their dad's laptop or something. Now, you end up clearing everybody because they don't really have any family besides these two people, Light Yagami's dad and the other dude that I forgot the name of. So you end up placing cameras in both houses, and now for a couple of days, this actually works. The killings stop, but then they just come back again. So now you are getting a little bit confused because everybody is saying that this clears them, but you're pretty sure that it's either one of them. So you end up just removing the cameras, mainly because this kind of clears both of them, so your suspicion of Light and the other dude dropped down slightly, but you're still somewhat suspicious of them. Now, since you're so locked in on Light, you end up going to his school and trying to kind of befriend him. So you guys end up going to a cafe, and you ask him a couple of questions. He asked you if these 3 notes have any meaning at all, which you already found out the meaning. It's L, did you know that Shikigamis love apples? And you think that Kira's probably just messing with you and made the criminals write those. And since you've already found it, you ask Light the same question, and you actually lie to him when he gives the correct answer that there was actually a 4th note. Now, you mainly did this to see how Light would react, and if he isn't Kira, then he would have probably thought that there was a 4th note. So you end up lying to him, and then you actually invite him to go on to the Kira case, mainly so you can just kind of watch over him. Now, after a while, you end up putting Light inside this room, where after around 14 days, killings start happening again, but after all, Light was in there for 14 days and nothing was happening, so you still think it might be Light. So you don't actually free him just to see how this might go, and that's when you realize, yeah, he's probably not Kira, seeing how he's been locked up for 50 days, and the killings have happened for the past 30 days. Now, I forgot to mention, during this time, there actually was found out to be a second Kira, so you end up locking up Misa, which you think is actually the second Kira. Now, after a while, after freeing them, you realize that one of them is these 8 people that work for this business. Now, after some more investigating, you actually find one of them, and you've, by at this point, figured out that they use the Death Note to kill people. Now, after a second, Light asks to see the Death Note, mainly because he wants to see the Shikigami that's just standing there. Now, that's when Light just starts screaming at the top of his lungs, and then he just stops, and then you just feel this immense aura coming off of him. It feels like he just gained 10 billion aura points. But you guys end up heading back to the base, and you start kind of experimenting with this Death Note. Now, that's when, about a week after, you end up going outside when it's pouring, mainly because you've just been hearing very loud bells the entire day. So Light comes out, and then you give Light a little foot rub, and you guys go back inside. Now, that's when, later in the day, about afternoon, all the files get deleted, and then you realize that the butler-looking type of guy has just died, because that's what you told him to do if he ever died, by Kira. So now it's kind of on lockdown. You're all kind of super scared. Now, after another 40 seconds, that's when you feel something. Your heart has just suffered a heart attack. And when you kind of look up, you see Light standing over you with red eyes, and then it all clicks. Light was Kira this entire time, and he has just outsmarted you. Now, that's where part 1 of Death Note ends up ending, right after L's death. Just so you know, Light ends up going on kind of killing spree for about 5 years until Nier shows up. Now, if you want me to do part 2 of Death Note, then consider liking and subscribing. If we get at least 1 or 2 likes, maybe, then I'll definitely consider doing a part 2, because this was very fun to make. So, like and subscribe, and I will see you inside the next one. And goodbye.